Welcome back to Total Extreme Wrestling 2020. This is CelJaded playing Monday, week 4 of January 2006 on the Shifting Sands mod, and this is the go-home episode to the Royal Rumble. One episode of Raw, one episode of SmackDown left before the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. Huge pay-per-view for WWE. There's been limited time to build towards it, so there is going to be a huge amount of segments in this episode with all sorts of storytelling jam-packed in here. There is a lot to get to, so we better get started. And here we are, starting with former WWE Champion John Cena saying that he wants the rematch he has earned against Edge right now. So Cena, of course, was successful in beating Shelton Benjamin last week in a great match. So John Cena, with all the momentum behind him now, says that he has earned a rematch and it's time that Edge gets out here and gives him that title shot that he so as richly deserves. But it's not Edge coming out next, it's actually Kurt Angle, who interrupts and says that while he has made peace with Cena, remember the two did team up last week, the rematch should be his. So Kurt making the point here that although John Cena was screwed out of the WWE title, he was wrestling Kurt Angle in that match. So by the same token there, Kurt Angle also screwed over by Edge. And so even though these two men here have formed an unlikely alliance, it will be Kurt Angle demanding the rematch against Edge just as much as Cena is. And we've got ourselves a babyface turn here for Angle as well to re-establish him in a new character from here. And so there you have it, John Cena and Kurt Angle standing together here awaiting the word from the rated R superstar Edge. And there he is. So Edge is out next to taunt both guys and hype himself as the hottest star in WWE. So Edge getting some promo time now as the two babyfaces stand in the ring. It is Edge making the point that neither of those two men will get anywhere near this WWE Championship as long as Edge holds it firmly in his grasp. So becoming more paranoid by the moment is the WWE Champion, but he's not going to be able to escape completely because Vince McMahon next arrives and says that in the interest of fairness, John Cena will face the winner of Angle vs. Edge, happening tonight, at the pay-per-view. So, Vince McMahon, even though he's a heel, he's still a businessman, and he's looking at three of his hottest superstars here. He needs a main event for the Raw brand going into the Royal Rumble, and so he sees an opportunity. So, John Cena has earned the right for a rematch against either Edge or Kurt Angle, and the reason for that is that Kurt Angle is getting his shot tonight against Edge for the WWE Championship. So it will be Kurt Angle and Edge in the main event of Raw. Winner of that match, of course, becomes the WWE Champion and goes to the Royal Rumble, where they will face John Cena this Sunday. So it's all happening here on Monday Night Raw. And then it is Cena saying that he came here to wrestle tonight and he wants someone out here right now, which prompts Edge to introduce a trick up his sleeve in the form of the brute Gene Snitsky. So Gene Snitsky, a hired gun for this evening on the behalf of Edge, and he heads to the ring ready for a match with Cena. And it's a quick match, John Cena going over in dominant fashion as we always expected he would, with the submission as well, the STFU. So John Cena now making a big statement here with this win, and with all the momentum behind him, getting a decent match out of Snitsky at that as well. So a very impressive performance from him. And yeah, John Cena going into the Royal Rumble as the challenger. Who will be the champion? We will find out later this evening. But just before we finish here, to cap it off, it is Cena making the classic belt sign to the camera, telling everyone that the title, the WWE Championship, is coming home back where it belongs, around John Cena's waist. So make sure you tune into the Royal Rumble to see where this hot storyline develops next. And then, changing gears, it is Trish welcoming back Jacqueline to the WWE with a hug and a handshake here, as Trish Stratus and Jacqueline, old friends, reuniting here as Jacqueline, another of our hires to the women's division, an old veteran that can hopefully coach up some of our younger workers. But nevertheless, a good addition to the women's roster here is Jackie, and Trish very happy to see her. But before we finish, Trish leaves the scene for a scheduled tag match, But before cutting away from Jacqueline, is Mickie James now approaching the woman herself, and in much the same way Trish just did, shaking Jacqueline's hand rather forcibly, and leaving Jacqueline rather wary at this newcomer Mickie James, who is still seems to be idolizing Trish Stratus by kind of copying her movements here and acting as she acts. So Jacqueline a little bit weirded out here and a little bit wary of Mickie James, but nevertheless we do have a tag match to get to, and that is going to be Ashley and Trish Stratus in a match that was arranged last week between those two, coming up right now. And there it is. So it is Trish Stratus and Ashley defeating Jazz and Ivory, another veteran pickup for our women's division. With Trish Stratus there getting the pin to kind of cement her momentum going into the Royal Rumble. So Trish Stratus and Ashley will be facing each other at the Royal Rumble for the Women's Championship after Ashley became the number one contender with Mickie James's help. But for tonight, Trish Stratus and her protege, Ashley, are still being friends and have decided to team up together tonight rather than enemies, which they will be at the Royal Rumble, and have picked up the win here in convincing fashion. So good stuff for them. And then next we've got Booker T coming out to explain his actions last week. So Booker T, of course, made a huge splash on Raw when he attacked HBK from behind and left Shawn Michaels laying. Booker T, of course, formerly of SmackDown, has made the jump over to Raw, returning from injury as well. So Booker T making a huge statement when he attacked Shawn Michaels. And here he is explaining that he wants to make a name for himself on Raw, so he went after the one man that everybody loves and attacked Shawn Michaels. And Booker T, of course, we saw a change of gimmick for him, adopting a show stealer persona, very similar, of course, to that of Shawn Michaels. So what's the story? Is Booker T looking to replace Shawn Michaels, perhaps? Certainly seems like it. But we've got Shawn Michaels here who has something to say about that. So Shawn Michaels comes to the ring now, mic in hand, and he says to Booker that, yeah, okay, you got the better of me last week, but I actually applaud you for that, because the old HBK would have done the same thing. And he is very quick to challenge Booker to a match tonight. So Shawn Michaels here kind of addressing Booker's comments about him wanting to be the next Shawn Michaels, as Shawn is kind of arrogantly putting it there. So a little bit of the old Shawn coming out, but still the babyface. He is the one to make the challenge to Booker T for tonight, and that's just cool with Booker. So you're not going to have to wait long to see the showdown between these two, because it's coming up very soon, and it will be coming up here on Monday Night Raw. So Booker T and Shawn Michaels meeting for the first time. Look forward to that one. And then next, it's Trish Stratus who heads back to the locker room, only to find that Jacqueline there laid out in the women's locker room and seemingly the victim of an attack. So a distraught Trish calling the medical personnel there to get some help for Jackie, and very rattled here that someone seems to have attacked her best friend. So more on this story as it develops. And then next, we've got Francine with a twinkle in her eye, saying to her client Greg Helms that she'd really like it if Greg challenged Flair to a title match. Ric Flair, of course, the Intercontinental Champion. And Helms, after seeing the sweet look on Francine's face, thinks, you know what? That sounds like a great idea, Francine. And the reason for this segment is that on a backstage monitor we can see in the background in this scene here, it is Ric Flair approaching the ring, ready to wrestle a non-title match here on Monday Night Raw, which we're just about to get to. And there you have it. So it is Ric Flair in a quick squash match against none other than Dolph Ziggler, who we've given his kind of name and debut to Mammoth here, ahead of schedule as it was in real life. But the point being is that we were not going to be using the Spirit Squad in any capacity, so we shipped all of those guys back to developmental. But just for the giggles, we decided to keep Dolph around because he does have good stats and good potential. So we'll see what we can do with him in the future. But for now, we just need Rick to get a win under his belt here in a non-title affair. And yeah, unfortunately, Rick not having his best days at the moment, personal issues and off his game as well. A few negatives, no doubt, that have really brought the segment rating down for this one, which is a disappointment. But the bigger story is after the match. because the moment Flair walks back through the curtain, it is Helms challenging Flair for his IC title. So Greg Helms wasted no time getting right up in Flair's face. But Flair, with a twinkle in his eye this time, says, no dice, cowboy, because I want to see what you're made of first before I give you a shot at that IC title. So what does Ric Flair mean by that? We'll just have to see what the Nature Boy has in store for Greg Helms and his lovely manager, Francine. And next, we've got Armando Estrada and his client, the brutal and vicious Samoan Savage Umaga, and they head to the commentary desk of all places to threaten Joey Styles over things that Joey apparently said on commentary on recent episodes of Raw. So the story is here that Umaga, as you may have noticed, has targeted former members of the former ECW. In Tommy Dreamer, of course, Umaga destroyed him, and Nova as well also destroyed him. And Joey Styles kind of picked up on this and is kind of questioning what Estrada's motives are and whether he's going after ECW alumni. And Estrada taking umbrage with these comments and now threatening him with violence, basically. Umaga now at ringside, things getting very tense, looking like they're ready to come unglued at any moment. But then it's Terry Funk making his big return to WWE here, steel chair in hand, as Funk makes the save for Joey, batters Umaga with a steel chair shot that Umaga barely sells. But before Umaga can spring into action here, it is his manager Estrada who jumps in between them and kind of backs Umaga off, not wanting his man to get involved in any risky altercations ahead of the Royal Rumble. And in the next segment here, it is Estrada holding Umaga back and yelling at Funk, saying that he'll pay for this at the Royal Rumble. So Umaga here being backed off by his manager, who wants him to retreat to fight another day from the crazed man holding the steel chair, of course, Terry Funk, a tough guy in his own right. But if the words are to be believed there by Estrada, it will be Umaga meeting Terry Funk at the Royal Rumble. Terry Funk, of course, a former ECW alumni himself, so there definitely could be something to this story that Joey's picked up on, and it will be Umaga again facing another former ECW star in Terry Funk. So tune into the Royal Rumble to see where this one goes next. And then a quick segment here that shows us Shawn Michaels making his way to the ring. And of course, this is the match now that Shawn Michaels is getting ready for against Booker T. We saw the seeds of that being sown earlier. It is going to be Shawn Michaels and Booker T for the first time on Raw. And we're expecting a great match here. Here's hoping we get one. Okay, and it is a decent match from what I can tell. So great heat and good wrestling. It is Shawn Michaels defeating Booker T by pinfall with a fast roll-up. So even though Booker was a little bit off his game this evening, which was disappointing, the story of this match anyway, nonetheless, is that Shawn Michaels and Booker T here are very evenly matched in this match. Neither man can get an advantage over the other. It's a very open match, and it is Shawn Michaels having to pull out an old trick from his repertoire, and he gets the fast roll-up here, off the ropes perhaps, and Booker T, unfortunately, has lost out to HBK on this episode of Raw. And then marching on to the next segment, Booker T is cursing his loss here as Shawn stands tall in the ring. So with the fact that this was such a disputed match, with certainly not a decisive finish by any means, could have gone either way for either man here, you've got to imagine that this story between these two men is far from over. And if we can get Booker a little bit more motivated on the next occasion, who knows how good that match could turn out to be. So a promising start for these two, Booker T and Shawn Michaels. Stay tuned to see where the story goes next. Okay, and next up we've got Rob Van Dam making his return here, and talking about his injury. So Rob Van Dam has been away, injured for quite a while, and is making his return to the ring here to hype when he'll next be wrestling. So Rob Van Dam, mic in hand, not wrestling on this episode of Raw, but is hyping his big in-ring return for this Sunday. Sunday, of course, being the Royal Rumble. So Rob Van Dam saying he is contracted to be there in a wrestling capacity. And here's the boss, Vince McMahon, to interrupt and tell RVD a little bit more about those plans, because Vince has decided Rob Van Dam will be facing a mystery opponent at the Royal Rumble. And RVD, the cool man, laid-back man that he is, says that's cool with him. But of course, this does put Rob Van Dam on the back foot here, because he's not going to be able to know who his opponent is ahead of time. He's not going to have any opportunity to prepare for that. So coming back cold in his first match at a big pay-per-view, all the pressure is on Rob here to deliver the goods and hopefully get the win. But when you've got a mystery opponent, who knows what could be in store. So Rob Van Dam makes his return at the Royal Rumble. Just another reason to tune in to that huge pay-per-view coming very, very soon. Oh, brilliant stuff here. Oh, I love to see it. What a high segment rating. Really pleased with this. This is very gratifying that we got this storyline to a place where we can start hitting higher numbers like this. So this makes me really, really pleased. And it's an angry Trish Stratus confronting Mickie James. So Trish Stratus, of course, has just come from the medical room where Jacqueline was getting checked over after Jacqueline was attacked by somebody backstage. And Trish now throwing the accusation at Mickie James. So Trish Stratus and Mickie James have been at odds in recent weeks. They haven't been talking to each other after Trish unceremoniously, well, for the lack of a better phrase, broke up with Mickie James, saying that she didn't want to be around her anymore. She needed her space. Mickie was just too much. And this is their first meaningful interaction since then, and it's a negative one, because Trish here confronting Mickie, accusing her of having something to do with the attack on Jacqueline earlier in the show, but Mickie playing completely innocent here, saying she had nothing to do with that. She would never think of hurting Jackie, and so what's going to go down there? So marching on from that segment, just onwards here, it is Ashley now coming to Mickie's defense, which causes Trish to leave in frustration. So Ashley now, who was previously in the tag team match we just saw with Trish, coming to Mickie's defense, because those two, Mickie James and Ashley, have been acting friendly towards each other in recent weeks, and Ashley taking exception to what Trish is implying here, that Mickie James had something to do with this. It's certainly not Ashley's opinion that Mickie would do something like that, and Trish now getting angry at her protege, and these two leaving this scene on bad terms as well, after they just made up and kind of agreed to be friends ahead of their match at the Royal Rumble. It looks like going into that pay-per-view that these two women will not be friends at all. At least that's how it's looking at the moment. So Mickie James causing a stir between student and teacher here, between Trish and Ashley. How it will play out, once again, you'll have to tune in to the Royal Rumble to find out. And then next, we've got Lita, who's trying to calm down her unhinged boyfriend, Edge, as he walks to the ring. So Edge, of course, is imminently now approaching main event slot here against Kurt Angle for the WWE Championship, and Lita trying to get her man to kind of think straight, as he has got a title match and he needs to defend that championship to go into the Royal Rumble as the champion. So a big segment coming up for him very shortly. But first, just a quick shot of Kurt Angle now psyching himself up ready to face Edge in the main event for the championship. So this is it. Kurt Angle versus Edge, and the winner will be the WWE Champion. Who's it going to be? It is Edge defeating Kurt Angle here by pinfall with the spear after Lita interfered, and it is Edge making defense number 1 of his WWE title on this current run. So the story here, quite clear, that Edge needing Lita's help again, but he does get the pin on Angle here, how do you like that? Edge, still the WWE champion against the wrestling machine, Kurt Angle. So, interestingly enough, we've got our first, I think this is the first negative chemistry warning here between Angle and Edge. So, it's unfortunate. It's going to put probably put the kibosh on any future singles matches between these two. It seems that the tag match we arranged involving Edge Angle wasn't able to prompt this warning here. So interesting development there, and maybe a few negatives as well. Again, due to the lack of a storyline between these two specifically. So a little bit of a disappointment for our main event slot, certainly. But at least we'll know for next time that maybe Edge versus Kurt Angle is not the program we'll be looking for in the future. But anyway, after the match, it is Edge grabbing a steel chair and hitting Angle with a concerto at Lita's insistence. So Kurt has kind of was waylaid by the champion just earlier and kind of lost the match. And Edge now with a steel chair, seizing the opportunity with Lita encouraging him there to take out one of the challengers for the title, maybe for an extended period, and hits Angle with a rather brutal concerto here, so really reveling in his heeldom. And it is, right after that, Cena hitting the ring now to kind of make the save, a little bit late unfortunately for Kurt Angle, and he hits the ring, and him and Edge, the brawl is on now in the center of the ring, and it is Cena about to get the FU on Edge when Lita grabs Edge's leg and kind of pulls him off and rescues him from that FU attempt. And then Cena grabs the mic. Kurt is still down, of course. So Cena grabs the mic and says hell is coming for Edge this Sunday and the title is coming back home. So reiterating what he said before, John Cena very confident that he will be the WWE Champion, and now he knows who his opponent's going to be. It is going to be the Rated R Superstar Edge versus John Cena, just as it was in real life. Will the result be the same though? Once again, you'll have to tune in to find out. And that is the end of the Go Home show of Raw for the Royal Rumble 2006. And we got a decent rating there of 74 as well. So a few clunkers in there, segment-wise, but overall a pretty strong show with a strong opening to make up for its slightly lackluster main event. But either way, we've learned a lot of things there, and a lot of storylines finally getting some heat and some momentum behind them. So this is all going in the right direction for the Royal Rumble. So fingers crossed for the Raw brand that this turns out to be a much better pay-per-view than the one previously. And that is it. CelJaded, playing Monday, week 4 of January 2006. My name is Alex. I hope you've enjoyed it. One more episode of SmackDown. Make sure you catch that one when it comes out soon. And then it will be the Royal Rumble for 2006. Do not miss it. It's going to be a huge show. Of course, we've got title matches, grudge matches up and down the card, and also the Royal Rumble match itself to determine who will go to WrestleMania to face a world champion of their choice. Do not miss it. See you next time.